But going back to the Jordan Peele, but it wasn't Jordan Peele, but you know
Jordan Peele wrote it, but it was
yeah,
directed by
so it was yeah some lady,
yeah, it's a lady.
yeah,
Can't think
and
of her name.
but Jordan Peele was attached to it, you know, and I did a video on my YouTube. I think this is the one you were talking about. It was like, who is Jordan Peele movies actually for? You know what I mean? Who is his genre of movies for? And one of the things about that Candyman, and even during that COVID time, all the horror movies that were coming out had this whole woke message to it, and that was one of them. It was this whole woke, instead of, it was focused on more on the climate of what's going on now in the country than actually trying to focus on the actual story and bring a connection from that movie to anyone. So it was a time frame, and that's a lot of Jordan Peele movies. He spends more time talking about social issues in his movies, trying to connect them, than the actual horror story itself.
I mean, we're gonna make a different video to talk about that, but because I feel like that'll be a really good conversation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. That Candyman, that's something that kind of like turned me off.
What was the woke? Okay, other than the police thing at the end, because that's the only one I could really think about. That police thing was forced as shit. What was the other like woke elements of that remake? Because I feel like everything else was like, to me, like was done really well, especially from the beginning to like the middle, and then everything at the end of the movie really sucked. But
right. So this is something. This is something that, for instance, um, the movie was definitely talking about poor black man doesn't get his fair shot. I'm talking about the lead character. I don't know the name, but the gentleman who turns into Candyman.
Yeah, his name's right now. He was a little baby in the original.
Yeah. Anyway, that character, majority of that movie was trying to shine a light, to me, was on how the struggle of a black man, and it's okay for a successful black woman to support a black man and help him and be ride or die and follow through. And if something happens, that a black woman can be strong and protect a black man. It I see a lot of that in the Jordan Peele aspect movies. That's why I can tell that his um, tips were in that movie.
But do you
And
really feel like that's an integral piece of like Candyman? I didn't. I mean, I feel like that would have been the typical response of any character, whether they're black or white. Like you would have this crazy. You would have the spouse that's slowly slipping into insanity, and the person that's with them is probably going to try to hold them down, and then they're going to in turn probably most likely at the end become a victim of that insanity. I mean, we've seen that plot point over and over again.
but it wasn't about him slipping insanity. It's before he was insanity. He was a struggling artist. I believe she was an art dealer. He wasn't bringing any money in
He
to
wasn't
be
really a
able.
struggle. He was an up and coming artist that
He was up
people had their eye
well,
out for, and it
well,
was
well,
like,
he was up and coming, which he had means he had no money, because she was complaining about when are you going to pay the bills, blah blah blah, all this stuff. She finally hooks him up with a excellent, her name on for him to sign for this art dealer, and he fucks that up, doesn't show up. He was a fuck up. He was a fuck up character, and
now he didn't show. It wasn't that he didn't show up. Didn't he? He showed up. He showed him the work. The dude wasn't really enthusiastic about the artwork that he showed him, and then
no,
that's when he ended up going around looking for inspiration. He got inspired by the Candyman thing, and then he turned around and made a whole gallery about Candyman.
he didn't show up because do you remember he went there to interview some white lady about something? I listened to while since I'm seeing the movie. He went to go and interview some older white lady
He
about
went to her house to ask her something.
something, and his girlfriend or his wife, I don't know what she was. She was sitting there waiting at the dinner table for him to show up so he could meet with these individuals to do the art show, and he never showed up.
Or didn't he show up and then he ended up freaking out and leaving, right? Because
It was something. It was something in that realm, but he like she put her name out there for him, and he completely fucked the whole situation up. Which
I mean, he didn't fuck it up because he got the gallery. Look, I gotta watch this movie again, but I swear
watch it.
that
Watch it. There is a Jordan Peele fingertips in there of black men are weak and black women have to be the ones, the strong ones, and to help them and support them and all that crap. And
I think we're gonna end up having this conversation in this video. All right, look, I see what sometimes these messages, I really do. I see the messages that you're speaking of. I just sometimes don't think that they're as. I think that sometimes you see Jordan Peele and you know that he's done this before, and I think that we start to connect dots that aren't truly there. Because honestly, like watching the movie, those were just plain basic shits. Like you could race swap that person with anybody, and the plot still would have been the same. So why all of a sudden it's a big ass deal because Anthony's character is black? You know what I'm saying? Like you could race swap that with anybody, and the same kind of situation probably would have happened. Like it would have turned out exactly the same.
But at the same time, it wasn't any race. It was a black man put into a situation where
because it's a black property. I mean, it's a property. I know,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying they put it into a situation where you have a black man who is financially dependent on a black woman. He's also dependent on her for his survival, his skills, and to save him from even in the end. And it's just like a bad taste that I've noticed in recently with like black horror movies. They want to make the black man weak and the black woman to be the one who is surviving. Us is the perfect example of that.
I didn't like Us. That was terribly done. That's the Jordan Peele I didn't like.
But it was terribly. But the reason why it was terribly done because you had that big ass motherfucker who played the mountain guy in Black Panther. He's the husband. And the whole entire time, he's big as shit, fucking 7 foot, built like a tank. The whole entire movie, he's laying there complaining about his fucking knee. And then at the very end of the movie, he looks over. Come on, his wife and his kids are fighting these things the whole entire time while he's sitting there. Oh, my knee, the whole entire fucking movie, scared. Yeah. And then at the very end, at the very end, he looks his wife right in her fucking eyes. And he goes, all right, I'm gonna sit in this ambulance with me and the kids, and you can go and fight whatever the fuck is in that sewer. What fucking man does that shit? You know, like
look, I've seen that. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I ain't seen Us since prior to its release. I got a pre-screener to see that like a month before it came out, and I saw it. I hated it, and I just never picked it up again. I honest to God don't remember most of the plot line. I just remember being pissed off that I was able to figure out the twist in the movie 5 minutes into the movie. Like literally, like once the beginning happened, I was like, oh shit, they don't switch. I kind of figured it out. Like and that kind of ruined the whole movie for me. And then the characters just weren't likable. And the characters were terribly written. The dialogue was terribly written. And like the comedic moments were poorly timed. And I mean, it just has an abundance of like that movie has an abundance of just holes within it that just makes it unlikable. And I didn't even dive deep into like the whole social commentary aspect of it.
But I mean, you see it so often in Jordan Peele movies. You see it in that we're gonna complete different discussion about Jordan Peele now. But you see it in like Get Out. You know, Get Out is a movie that's saying this is what happens as a black man when you date a white woman, right?
I mean, I think I think they took one of the stereotypical fears and they played it up on it. Yeah.
But think about this. I don't know if you know this. Jordan Peele has been married to a white woman for God knows since the beginning.
Oh yeah, I know. Jordan Peele has a white woman in the pocket.
So like, how does that discussion go when you decide you're looking at your white wife and you're like, hey, I'm about to make a horror movie. What's it about? Oh, it's about why black men shouldn't date white women. Like, it's weird.
I mean, he's a comedian. He could probably pull it off. I mean, he goes. He's a comedian. He could probably find a slick way to do that. But look, let's segue back to Candyman. I don't want to go too far out because I want to make you like a frequent guest to like talk about these sort of things because I can talk about that stuff with everybody. Mm-hmm. So I want to kind of be able to share some of these little conversations for later. But okay, so I didn't see the whole Anthony's character being dependent on his girlfriend. I didn't really see that in the Candyman thing as much. And then, honestly, I might have to rewatch it. You might be completely right. I just don't remember that being a central plot point. But then again, I really do want to raise this. I feel like Jordan Peele has, since he makes movies for a certain audience, and a lot of people are already going to these movies with this mindset of, okay, this movie's going to have woke elements in it. Sometimes I feel like people overanalyze it, and I kind of think you overanalyzing it too. At least the Candyman writing part. Us, you might be 100% right. Like I said, I've never picked that movie up again since I've seen it. But with Candyman, only thing that I saw that felt really woke and forced was a police incident. That felt forced because it really felt like it had absolutely nothing to do with plot. And it just seemed like it was just done just for the convenience of it. Now, I mean, yeah, one could argue like what's bro's name? Dude with the hook. I got his damn what is his name? Sherman, exactly. One can argue Sherman's character is woke, but at the same time, I felt like that was actually a really good more of a modern update to kind of like the tragedy that happened with freaking Candyman's original character. What is his name? Daniel's character, Daniel Robitaille, right? So I felt like it was more of a modern update to that. And I was like, okay, cool, I can rock with this. Like, that's cool. Like, I didn't really feel like Sherman's character was really like wokey. It kind of felt like it was in the realm. Also, it was a Chicago-based lore, so it's completely believable. It's like, it felt like Rodney King, right? Like, that's what it honestly felt like. I'm from LA, so Rodney King's story is very, very common and well known around here. So that's what it felt like to me. But even that didn't feel really woke to me. But I mean, like, the only part that really felt woke was the whole idea, like, hey, you about to get shot by police officers, and then he got shot by police officers. That whole setup right there just seemed like, like, come on, you know what we're dealing with. You know, the Black Lives Matters movement is going on. You know that these people are getting shot, and it really just felt like you kind of use that as a kind of like a spectacle, you know, in order to try to reel people in. That felt wokey. That felt agenda based. I will agree that part of the movie did feel wokey and agenda based, but the other stuff, I think it's a reach, man.